Have you ever felt like there's a part of you don't really understand? Like, you're not sure who you really are anymore? I've been there too. Let me share something with you. Maybe it'll help you see things a little clearer. You ever get that strange feeling like you're living the same day over and over, even though everything on the surface looks different? I don't mean just routine. I mean something deeper. Like your life is running on a hidden script, and no matter what choices you make, you somehow end up right back where you started. I felt that too. It's like being inside a maze you didn't know you entered, one with walls that shift when you're not looking. There was a time I thought I had full control over my life. I made plans, set goals, worked hard. But underneath it all, there was this quiet unease I couldn't shake. I couldn't explain it, not even to myself. All I knew was that no matter how much I achieved or changed on the outside, something on the inside stayed stuck. The same thoughts, the same emotional loops, the same sense of being held back by something I couldn't name. And then it hit me one day, hard. I was sitting in my car, stuck in traffic, just staring at the rearview mirror. I wasn't thinking about anything profound, just zoning out. And suddenly, it was like this wave of clarity washed over me. I realized I'd had the exact same thoughts the day before, and the day before that, almost word for word. The same doubts, the same stories, the same silent criticisms. It was like my mind was playing a tape on repeat. That realization shook me. I started questioning everything. Why do I keep thinking these thoughts? Are they even mine? Where did they come from? The more I looked, the more I saw. I was living inside a kind of mental architecture built from old experiences, fears, and unspoken beliefs. And the scariest part? I didn't even remember building it. I just woke up one day and found myself living inside it. You know that saying, the mind is a wonderful servant, but a terrible master. It's true. My mind was constantly feeding me distractions, social media, worries, endless plans and to-do lists, old regrets, imagined futures. It was like it knew exactly how to keep me spinning. And anytime I tried to sit still, just to be with myself, something would jolt me back into the noise. A thought, a memory, a feeling of guilt or urgency. Something would always rise up to pull me away from the stillness. I started to wonder, what if this isn't just about distraction? What if there's something my mind doesn't want me to see? That was the beginning. The moment I realized that maybe, just maybe, I was being kept blind on purpose. Not by some external force, but by my own mental patterns. The mind isn't inherently malicious, but it is designed to protect us. And one of the ways it does, that is by keeping us in the familiar. Even if the familiar is painful. Because pain you know feels safer than uncertainty you don't. So I started paying attention. I noticed how every time I got close to a deeper truth, like the idea that I'm not my thoughts, or that I might be more than my past, my mind would freak out. Suddenly, I'd remember an urgent task or feel a strong emotional reaction. It was like my brain was saying, nope, not going there. Too risky. Let's go back to what we know. I know this sounds strange, maybe even paranoid. But once you start noticing the patterns, you can't unsee them. You realize that a huge part of your life has been governed by an invisible force. Not fate, not bad luck, but your own unexamined thoughts. And these thoughts have a structure, a system, almost like a program running silently in the background. That's when it truly hit me. I wasn't free. Not really. I was reacting to a set of internal scripts I didn't consciously write. Scripts written by childhood experiences, societal conditioning, trauma, fear, shame, you name it. And as long as I kept mistaking those scripts for me, I'd stay lost in the maze. But something beautiful happens the moment you see the maze. You're no longer completely trapped. There's this gap, a small one, but it's there between the thought and your awareness of it. That's where the door opens. That's where you begin to wake up. I'm not saying I figured it all out. I'm still learning, still stumbling, still getting caught in loops. But now I see them, and that has made all the difference. Awareness isn't the end of the journey. It's the beginning. It's the light flickering in the distance, reminding you that you're not crazy and you're not alone. You're just starting to see clearly for the first time. And if you're reading this and feeling something stir inside you, that quiet recognition that maybe this is your story too. Then trust that, because the moment you begin to really question, you've already taken your first step out of the maze. There was this moment, and I don't know how else to describe it, where I realized I had been living under the illusion of control. It wasn't dramatic. It didn't come with thunder or some big emotional breakdown. It was quiet, still, almost eerie in its simplicity. I had been sitting with myself, trying once again to clear my mind, when I suddenly noticed something that should have been obvious a long time ago. I couldn't stop my thoughts. Not really. Try it for yourself sometime. Just sit, breathe, and decide you're going to think absolutely nothing for the next 30 seconds. What you'll probably find, as I did, is that the mind doesn't care about your decision. Thoughts come anyway, one after another. Sometimes about what you're doing later, sometimes about that thing you said to someone 3 years ago. They're like uninvited guests that never stop arriving. And yet, we go through life believing we're in charge. That was the second crack in the wall for me. First, I saw the maze. Then I realized I wasn't steering. My thoughts, my emotions, even the sense of who I was, they all seemed to arise on their own. And yet I had spent years identifying with them. I am anxious. I am angry. I am broken. But what if I wasn't? What if those were just experiences passing through me, not definitions of me? It's like this. We've been taught to believe we are the voice in our heads, the narrator. But what if we're not the voice? What if we're the space the voice speaks into? That idea hit me like a wave. It felt disorienting, even frightening at first. Because if I'm not my thoughts, then who am I? If I'm not the voice, not the emotions, not the reactions, what's left? This is where things get really uncomfortable. Because the moment you stop clinging to those identities, you fall into something unfamiliar, something vast. And your mind hates that. The mind wants labels, stories, anchors. It wants you to believe you're someone specific with fixed traits and a consistent personality. Not because it's true, but because it feels safer that way. The known, even if it's painful, is easier to grasp than the unknown. And yet, deep down, we all know we're more than the stories we've told ourselves. We just forget. We forget that we weren't born with these beliefs about ourselves, about others, about life. They were handed to us, inherited, imprinted, sometimes gently, sometimes through trauma. But none of it was truly chosen. That realization was equal parts liberating and terrifying. Because if I didn't choose this identity, this me, I had spent decades reinforcing, then maybe I could choose something else. Or even better, maybe I didn't have to choose at all. Maybe the real me, the true self, was the one watching it all unfold. The one who notices, the one who questions, the one who sees. It's hard to explain how profound that shift was. It didn't make my problems disappear overnight. It didn't stop the noise in my head, but it created a gap, a tiny, powerful space between something is happening and this is who I am. That space, it's everything. It's the beginning of freedom. Because when you realize you're not your thoughts, you stop reacting to them like they're absolute truth. When anxiety shows up, you can say, "Oh, hello, I see you," and then let it pass. When anger flares, you can pause instead of lashing out. You start choosing instead of just reacting. And sure, your mind will fight back. It'll tell you this is nonsense. It'll scream that you are your feelings, your habits, your past, that you're defined by what you've done or what's been done to you. But listen closely, and you'll realize something subtle. Those protests, they're just more thoughts, more noise. The truth, the real truth, it's silent. It's the stillness beneath the chaos. It's the awareness that hears the screaming voice without getting pulled into its story. And that awareness doesn't need fixing. It doesn't need validation. It just is. Always has been. I'm telling you this not as someone who's reached some enlightened state, but as someone who's been in the trenches, still is, honestly. Someone who knows what it feels like to be tangled in your own mind, believing you're broken beyond repair. But you're not. You never were. You've just been identifying with the wrong thing. You're not the storm. You're the sky. There's something strange that happens when you begin to wake up. Not all at once, not in some dramatic enlightenment moment, but slowly, like fog lifting in the early morning. You start to hear the background noise, you've been living with your whole life. It's like realizing you've been standing next to a loud engine, and only when it turns off do you notice how quiet everything really is. That background noise, that's the mind. Constantly humming, constantly distracting. And the more I tuned into it, the more I saw how it worked. It wasn't just thoughts. It was a whole system. It pulled my attention in 1,000 directions. Old regrets, future plans, social media feeds, arguments that hadn't happened yet. Anything but now. It's wild how much of our life we spend somewhere else. Not in the room, not in the moment. We're physically present, but mentally miles away. And the scary part is that feels normal. We've normalized this chaos so deeply that peace feels unfamiliar. Silence can be terrifying when you're used to noise. I started noticing how every time I tried to just sit and be, even for a minute, something in me panicked. Like I was missing something. Like I was being irresponsible. You should be doing something, my mind would whisper. This is a waste of time. But I wasn't doing nothing. I was trying to return to myself. And somehow, that was the most threatening thing I could do. That's when I realized the truth. The mind doesn't want you to wake up. Not because it's evil, but because it's wired for survival, not truth. Its job is to keep you alive, not to set you free. And anything unfamiliar, even peace, feels dangerous to a system that's built on pattern recognition and prediction. So instead, it distracts. It floods you with to-do lists, fears, cravings, comparisons, and endless streams of what-if scenarios. Not because any of it is real, but because it's familiar. And that familiarity gives the illusion of safety. But once you start seeing this, you can't unsee it. I remember one morning I was sitting on the couch, coffee in hand, just breathing. Nothing special. No music, no phone. And I felt this deep ache rise up, not from my body, but from somewhere quieter. This ache that said, "You've been running for so long, and you're so tired." I didn't cry, but I could have. Because in that moment, I wasn't avoiding anything. I wasn't numbing. I was just present. And what showed up was the part of me that had been waiting patiently all these years to be seen. This is the part the distractions hide. The raw, tender truth that's been under the noise. Not brokenness. Just a deep longing to come home to yourself. And look, I get it. It's hard. We live in a world built on distraction. We're constantly being pulled outward by devices, by expectations, by endless stimulation. Stillness is almost revolutionary now. It's countercultural, but that's exactly why it matters so much. You want to know the real trick of the mind? It makes the simple things look complicated. It convinces you that awakening is some mystical thing only monks or gurus experience. But it's not. It's right here, in this breath, in this moment, in choosing to pay attention, not to the chaos, but to what's underneath it. The truth has always been simple. The noise is what makes it feel distant. So what do? You stop chasing. You stop running. And instead, you start listening. Not to the voice in your head, but to the silence beneath it. You start observing without reacting. You notice the patterns, the distractions, the ways your mind tries to pull you back into sleep. And you just say, there it is again. And then you let it pass. That, I think, is the real beginning. Not some huge realization. Not a lightning strike. Just the quiet choice to stop believing everything your mind says. The choice to come back to what's real, your breath, your body, your awareness. The only things that were ever real to begin with. And when you do, even for a moment, you'll feel it. That soft hum of presence. The place where the noise fades and something sacred returns. You know what no one really tells you? The closer you get to waking up, to really seeing through the patterns that have kept you asleep, the louder your mind fights back. It doesn't come with sirens or flashing lights. If this felt meaningful to you, it might mean something to someone else too. So hit like, leave a comment, or subscribe. That's how YouTube knows to share with others. Maybe together, we can help someone see things a little differently.